In this job, you meet people from every walk of life. But Jeremiah Carlucci, he's the real deal. He's an authentic, genuine character. I mean, character, who takes fishing seriously, sometimes too seriously. But if you want to go fishing with someone who is absolutely part of the fabric of the Nature Coast, he's the only choice. So, what do you think of this? This is a scaled down Hell's Bay.
I like it. I mean, that's pretty cool looking. I mean, I'm excited to fish out of it today.
Yeah, you are the Booger Woods dude.
This is gonna get us where we need to go.
It is the smallest of all of our boats. It's kind of like a mosquito boat. I feel like I'm just invincible in this boat, and we can fish anywhere we want today. I scaled all the tackle down. I only have one box of gear, 6 rods under the gunnel. We got a micro, we got a small 25 horsepower Yamaha. I mean, this thing's scaled down quite a bit. We should be able to do what we need to do, draft 4 inches of water.
Today we're gonna go catching.
We're going catching?
We're going catching. We got a nice front getting ready to come through, south wind, turning the southwest.
Well, typically I'm afraid when you're driving my boats. Afraid because I know you like to go places that we could knock the motor off the boat. But in this boat, I'm gonna say, just be you, Jeremiah.
Some of these spots, I might just kind of like ground and pound and get on and go. Might, you know what I mean? Just
I get it.
like this one right here, it's either we're gonna whack them really quick.
My history as a professional guide and just as an angler in general has always been a shallow water flats fisherman, sight fisherman, enjoyed fishing the backcountry. One of my favorite places to fish used to be Charlotte Harbor and Mosquito Lagoon, and I go down to the Glades quite often just to be able to satisfy that need. But now that I live here on the Nature Coast, I mean, I have it, especially from middle, late fall, all the way through the spring. It's just backcountry fishing is what you do every day here.
Oh my God, a whole school of them. Jeez, look at them all.
See him grab it? He got it, dude.
He got it.
See him grab it? I mean, that.
I was looking at the other ones.
No, I saw him come up and he just freaking whacked it, dude.
I was too busy looking at all the other ones.
Hammered it.
Like, oh man, look at them all.
I was wondering if I was going to be able to get tight. I put a net down here because I don't want you to grab them with a plug.
That's the one thing, this boat is pretty steady, but you don't want to be 2 animals running around wild banshees. It's a good one too.
Yeah. Nice work.
Nice one.
Man, if you wouldn't have saw those, because they were creeping up in a spot where I couldn't see them, and all of a sudden when I saw them and just flicked it.
It was hard to even get, I mean, they come and they turn right to us and it's like, I don't know if it's gonna happen. I didn't even see yours.
Fish.
I'm looking at the other 5 or 6 going that way.
Good Lord. I love catching them out here in the middle too, man. Right out in the middle of these creek mouths.
Even with that wind glare and that little bit of ruffle, the things were bright red, ruffled up.
I had a feeling if we could play with a plug, we'd get a good fish. Man, they're aggressive on that too.
Good thing you said
deal with
something,
him
because
later.
I was too busy looking at them other ones. Whew, pretty one.
Wow.
Shit.
Nice.
Pretty fish. It's just a
Gorgeous.
nice quality fish.
He came right to the surface and snatched it and ran off with the other 2.
He's thinking to himself, man, I thought I was gonna have a free meal there, but instead, I got some pierced lips. Good one.
That is a solid fish. Appreciate the good eyes. Is that a fish there?
That's a fish.
Yeah, that's a fish. That's a fish.
I was sitting there looking at that. Right.
He's tailing.
couple of them up there. Oh, I watched them eat it.
That is
That
what
was
I'm
awesome.
talking about. That is what I'm talking about. I got it up above him.
Yeah, I was sitting
and by
there, oh.
just swimming it, he just swam right down and
Yeah.
just dog boned it.
That was awesome. You could tell he was looking for food the whole time we seen him.
Well, he was tipping. He had that positive, attitude.
Like he was hungry,
Like
not
he
messed
was
with.
definitely going to eat.
Look how fired up and blue that tail is
Yeah,
too,
he
boy.
is too, buddy.
That is a beautiful fish.
He is fired up.
Good tournament fish.
Perfect.
God, look at that tail. That thing is bright and lit. You can tell he was wanting to eat.
I got a wimpy rod here. I got my trout rod. Woo!
I'm gonna go with 26 and a half.
You think so?
I
We got a
think so.
delier right there. It'll make a liar or make you a profit,
It's
one
either
of the
gonna make me
two.
a hero or a zero, pretty quick.
Look at you, bud.
I lied, 26 and a half.
Wow. He just touched it and he knew how big it was.
The redfish goddess.
That's awesome, man.
If I had to pick an everyday fish to fish for the rest of my life, I'm probably gonna say it's gonna be a redfish. I love redfishing. It's almost like a stalking, you're hunting, you're doing every outdoor sport in one. They tail, they're big, they're bold, they fight. That's my most definite blood pumping fish that still to this day, a lot of fish, I still get the shakes and it's like seeing that big 12 point, but a redfish every time is like my #1 go-to.
So the way the day started on this trip with Jeremiah was we were going out on outgoing tide. And when you're fishing the outgoing tide, we fished the creek mouths and then we fished a little bit of the outside barrier shorelines and then eventually moved out to one of the islands. But that little mirror lure, that mirror minnow, is absolutely the key bait in the springtime along the west coast of Florida, and I was dying to throw it. But as the day progressed, I knew we were going to follow that tide back into the Booger Woods. And once you get in the Booger Woods, it's a little tighter quarter place and you're having to throw up underneath overhangs and things like that. And that is where a jig really excels. There he is. Feels like a trout.
Looks like a little decent one too, don't it?
Oh yeah, it's a good one. I'm turning the dial down on this one. I don't want him to get off. That's a good trout. I switched over to the darters. Probably one of the coolest things about the Hells Bay Eldora is the whole idea is to have a scaled down boat. This boat doesn't have any hatches, doesn't have a floor. You see all the aqua traction on top of it to make it look pretty. It's a simple boat. Even the power pole is a micro anchor. And the big secret at power pole is that's the quietest of all the power poles. I mean, it's deadly quiet. It just goes beep and you're in the bottom and no noise. I love that boat. I love that micro. You are basically like smoke blowing over the water in the Hells Bay Eldora with a micro power pole. In the morning, we were having a warm front kind of back off and a cold front was approaching. So it was kind of hazy in the morning, really hazy, like almost like we could get some rain. And it went from that to bluebird skies where you could see the approaching front coming in the distance, but it stayed out there all day long. About the only thing that really changed was the wind kept getting higher and higher and higher all day long. And it forced us, really. We wanted to follow the tide into the creeks anyway and get back in the Booger Woods, but it forced us in there because that wind it literally was blowing 20, 25 miles an hour. And we had to go back there because the outside, we were getting blown up. There he is, they love it. They love the darters. Another thick trout, man. Hear the air in his mouth just popping. They like it. Well, he's got some big teeth.
It's a good one.
The darters. All right, guys. The two setups that I chose to use on this episode of Fishing the Booger Woods with Captain Jeremiah was this inshore rod from Shimano. It's the GLF. It's a medium light action rod. I paired it up with a Corrado DC. This is the 150 XG. Great little rod's got some 20-pound braid on it. I've got a section probably 3 feet long of 20-pound fluorocarbon leader. And attached to it, what you all want to really know is a Miro minnow. This is the MR19 that you can get from Miralure, and it's got the inline hooks. Now, when I put it on the rod originally that morning before we got started, I was going to use treble hooks, so I chose the medium light action rod. But once we got out there and I realized how big the redfish were, I went ahead and switched it to the inline hooks, which gives you a lot more pulling power on the fish, but you do have to set the hook with a little bit more authority to catch them when you use those inline hooks. But this was an excellent bait for us. As we moved into the afternoon and started following the incoming tide, we caught some trout, and then we went ahead and we caught some more redfish back in the back of the creeks. I used a bait that I rely on a ton, and that is the Z-Man darters. This is one of the best baits in the lineup that they have, and one of my go-to profiles. Aside from paddle tails, I use this a lot. Now here's the bait out of the package. It's literally 6 inches long. So when you're fishing for snook, cobia, even tarpon, this is an excellent choice. Big speckled trout. But the way I make it appealing to all fish is with a pair of these. And the best thing to do is to take, in my opinion, a fat inch right off the bait, and then you can make it that long, which is perfect. This is gonna catch almost anything you wanna catch. It's now about 4.5 inches long. And I just put it on a trout eye jig head. So it's an adjustable bait, if you will. And what you'll notice about this bait, I'll give you a close-up look of it, is it's segmented. See how it's got that segmented tail, how much action this bait has? So when you're working this bait, it's constantly swimming. Even when it's at rest and the head is on the bottom, this tail is just moving around. And it's that tantalizing action that drives fish crazy. All right, the rod I used to deliver the darters to the fish is the 7-foot Terramar XX. Excellent choice for throwing anything between 1/4 to 5/8 in the lure category. Probably turning out to be my favorite rod. I paired that up with a Shimano Kronar. The Kronar is a reel that I don't use all the time. It's got a real narrow spool, and I like having a lot of thumb control where I can really hammer a cast out, and it's a little bit different with a narrow spool. But the more I threw it, the more I liked it. And this rod is perfectly matched for the Kronar 150 XG. So I paired that up with a little bit of about 20-pound Power Pro on this rod, and I've got about 2.5 feet of 15-pound fluorocarbon. If you're looking to have some great sight fishing action, these two setups are awesome. This is probably the more affordable outfit, and this is probably the more expensive outfit, but both of them did an excellent job of getting it done today. Hopefully, some of the tactics that Jeremiah and I shared with all of you and the tackle that I just shared with you will put a few more fish in your boat. What's kind of cool about fishing the Nature Coast is the Nature Coast is probably one of those areas a lot like 10,000 islands in Southwest Florida. There are literally 10,000 islands here, and not all of it is accessible to every craft, even throughout the day, because the tides and the wind change so much. You can become trapped very easily.
We call it the Booger Woods because sometimes I'll go back there so far that you'll see a creek and the mangroves are just like piled in top of you where you could hardly get a boat, and you just keep on going. You see one little creek, you're like, oh, let me go try that one, and before you know it, you're so far back there, you're trying to come back out, and you'll hit a different creek. You don't remember how to get in and get out, you're boogered up.
If you don't go with a professional guide here, you're gonna be in trouble quick, because even the stuff that you think is grass is solid limestone underneath it. There's no way, unless you grow up here, that you can know where you can go and when you can go there. Having the relationship with Jeremiah and some of the other guys like Brandon and JC and whatnot, these guys have literally taught me some of the ins and outs of being able to negotiate some of this stuff, because without those guys' help, there'd be no fishing the backcountry here for me. Oh, there he is. I watched him come up and get it. He was on it. It was the one that boiled, I think, earlier.
A little better fish.
Yeah, much better fish. Much better fish. Way back in here.
Back in the Booger Woods.
I feel like we're a mile inside. Man.
It's a nice little pretty fish. Nice,
again,
good fighter. And
darters is the right bait in here.
tell you what, he was hungry.
The darters mimics a ballyhoo, a needlefish, and I am telling you for a fact that snook and trout cannot turn the darters down, and that's why I wanted to use it. But I was amazed how well it worked on redfish by working it tight to the bottom, because we caught a number of reds on that darters after I thought, okay, well, if we don't catch snook and we don't catch speckled trout in the backcountry, we'll switch to something else, a paddle tail or something. But we stayed with the darters, and it produced all afternoon on the incoming. Amazing bait.
Doubled up, boys.
Nope, I'm not.
I got a nice one.
Yeah, I'm gonna help you out here. I'm gonna break mine off.
He hit that thing as soon as it hit the water.
And you know what?
Huh?
I think this is the best way to end the Booger Woods show.
Hey, you hear that beautiful sound right
I
there?
know, I hear it. I hear it. That's called a Shimano Twin Power. It's like a harmonica.
This is the one we were looking for.
I do too. I think this one's full grown. I might even get a net out for you. I'll tell you what, you deserved it. You worked your butt off today.
But I tell you, 9th inning, bases loaded, down by 4.
Yeah.
Comeback kid.
You usually whip my butt when you're fishing.
Woo! Not the biggest fish in the world, but he's not happy.
Oh no, he's a good fish still. He's still a good fish.
That thing hit the water. It was sinking.
But I mean,
I didn't even click it.
It's these dead end like creeks that hold, if you know the spots, I mean, you can have an unbelievable day of fishing. And I mean, we really only use 2 baits all day long. We use the mirror minnows, and ever since we got back in the creeks, we just stayed with the darters.
Yeah.
And it's been working out.
This little light tackle rod is absolutely fun.
Yeah, it is.
It is a little better than I thought it was.
Yeah, he's pretty good, pretty decent fish. Nice.
Yeah, but like you said, the dead end, your current flowing, I mean, that current is absolutely ripping through here.
Bouncing right in here, and that darter's, that has been a nails bait for me all winter long. That's a good heavy fish.
Yeah, fat.
He's 25 inches long. If you're ever on the Nature Coast and you're looking for the real deal guide, I mean the Daniel Boone of this zone, you gotta go fishing with Captain Jeremiah. I promise you, not only is he well qualified, but you will be thoroughly entertained, and he'll definitely up your redneck dictionary. Like Jeff Foxworthy says, you might be a redneck if.